And welcome back to our Glory podcast. And this is our second podcast of the week, and we call this edition "What's Happening at Glory." And normally, Adam hasn't been on this episode, so this will be his second appearance this week. But we wanted to talk about some things that we have going on, some events going on this week at Glory. This is Holy Week leading up into Easter, and one event that we have coming up will be on Friday night, April the 7th, which is called our Stations of the Cross. And it's a kind of a interaction type event where you can go around to different stations that we'll have set up. And Adam, you want to talk about that a little bit and give us some insight on how that's going to go and what all's happening?
Yeah. Talking about what's happening at Glory. We ain't nothing going on around here.
No, there's nothing going on. Yeah.
A lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Stations of the Cross is something that I had heard about years ago and had heard a few other churches doing it and thought it was a really neat way of learning, reflecting, and remembering what Jesus had done for us. And so we did it a few years ago here at Glory. I believe it was 2018. And we're going to be doing it again Friday night, Good Friday. And so we've got 5 stations that'll be set up. We've got deacons and leaders in our church that will be leading each station. They'll have everything prepared. And so when you come in, we will be meeting in the fellowship hall to start with and making sure everybody's grouped up by the time that they're going to start. And you'll go into station 1, and there you'll be introduced to the bitterness and the seriousness of sin. And in some interactive ways, using our 5 senses, we will talk about and be able to reflect on the seriousness of our sin. Then you'll move to station 2. After just a few minutes in station 1, you'll move to station 2, and in there, we're going to be talking about what a crucifixion was and be able to touch the nails, and they'll have some other things in there that are just vivid reminders for us of what Christ endured. Station 3, in a lot of ways, is probably the most fun station because of what's going to be happening there as we talk about forgiveness and cleansing and the sweetness of Jesus' forgiveness. Station 4 will be Lord's Supper. And then station 5 will be burying Jesus' body. And our guys have got some very interactive ways for us to remember and reflect on, almost as if we were there, of burying Jesus. And we will leave. And we wait for Easter Sunday morning when we celebrate his resurrection.
Right. And so that will begin at 6 o'clock. And really our time frame is 6 to 8 on Friday evening.
Well, and one thing to remember, too, it starts at 6, but we've had over 200 people sign up.
Right.
And so this is something for your kids to be a part of and your youth to go through with you. It's something they can do. And so we'll have a group starting at 6, a group starting at 6:10, and then 10-minute intervals because we don't want groups to be too big.
Right.
We're trying to keep it to about 20 to 25 folks per group. So that it can be meaningful, so that everybody can see everything in each room and not miss out.
Right. And again, we want our families to go through together.
That's right.
It's a family event.
Take about 45 minutes to go through the whole thing, and then you're free to go.
Right.
So,
our deacons will be leading in each one of those stations, and so we're very thankful to them and their leadership. We have a wonderful deacon body here, and just servant's heart, and all those guys, and
a lot of wisdom,
yes,
a lot of willingness to serve our church family in a lot of ways that are behind the scenes. Sometimes people don't even know, and you're going to show up if you attend Friday night and go through this, and you're only going to see them for about 7 minutes in each station. It's been a lot of work put into this, and I am grateful for them. I had a call even this morning from one of our deacons that wanted some clarification on one specific thing because they want to do this right.
Yeah.
They want to do it in a way that is ministering and meaningful to our church family and our community who comes through this.
Right. Yeah. So we're looking forward to that. And if you have not signed up, you can still sign up for that. And, we invite you to come and be a part of that. And so we're looking forward to that event on Friday night. And with it being Holy Week and, all of the events that led up to Jesus's crucifixion and resurrection that we're going to celebrate this weekend, we think back to it. I was just thinking that, through all of this and how awesome it is to look back in the Old Testament and everything pointing to this. But anyway, this week the events that happened. You wanted to bring up a couple of points through all of that. So
I mean, as we think about the Stations of the Cross Friday night, as we think about Easter, we could sit here and for hours talk about some eye-opening things concerning Jesus' crucifixion, his trial, and many of you have heard the story. You know what Jesus endured. For many of you, you know why he endured it. I want to for just a moment, as we think about the Stations of the Cross Friday night, as we think about what Jesus went through, a couple things that I've really focused on this week already that you may not think about in regards to Jesus' crucifixion and what went on. And one of them, and one of the Stations Friday nights, we're gonna be talking about that Jesus takes away our sin, and what gave him the right to take away our sin is the fact that he was the spotless Lamb of God.
Mm-hmm.
And we use that terminology that he was our sacrificial lamb, that he was spotless, without blemish. He was totally, perfectly righteous. And sometimes we miss the importance of that, because if he's not a spotless lamb, he's not sufficient to take away our sin.
Right.
And it's just interesting when you read the final hours of Jesus' life before the crucifixion. Randy, Judas betrayed him. And a lot of people don't know that Jesus endured a lot of fake, phony trials that night before he was crucified.
Mm-hmm.
They brought him in, and you begin to think about what was said. And remember, for the most part, these are pagans. These are not Jesus followers. These are not disciples. You think about the number of times from Matthew 26, 27, 28 that a pagan speaks about Jesus's innocence, and it's mind-blowing. When you go through the fake trials of Jesus, the text tells us that because they could not find anybody to come and give an eyewitness account, to give testimony that Jesus had blasphemed or done something, they paid people to come in these fake trials to lie about Jesus, which shows us they couldn't find anybody to speak against him.
Right.
Pilate, the one that handed over Jesus to be crucified, he had a conversation with Jesus, and it tells us that he washed his hands in a bowl of water because he says, I am not going to be guilty of shedding this innocent man's blood.
Mm-hmm.
And Pilate, in washing there, as Spurgeon would say, there's not water strong enough in the whole world to wash away his sin. But you think about Pilate and what he says, and then when he asked the people, who do you want me to deliver to you, Jesus or Barabbas? And the people say, free Barabbas. Pilate says, why do you want me to crucify this innocent man? And so on two occasions, Pilate declares the righteousness of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And then Judas betrays Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, which was the price of a slave. He becomes our servant. It's a beautiful picture there. After he's betrayed Jesus, the text says that Judas comes back and he throws the money at the Sanhedrin, at their feet, and says, I have betrayed innocent blood.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got all of these eyewitnesses that in the sovereign providence of God are teaching us and telling us Jesus is perfectly righteous, and therefore he is a suitable sacrifice for us.
Right.
Another thing that I've been focused on in regards to that, Barabbas. Most of you probably have heard that the cross that Jesus died on was the middle cross, and beside him were two thieves. It's very likely that third cross was Barabbas' cross.
Mm-hmm.
And Barabbas, best we can tell, was a ruthless man. He was not only a thief, but probably a murderer. He was not somebody that you'd want walking your streets.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, the hostility toward Jesus is so great that they say, crucify him and let Barabbas go free. And in a twist and in a turn of events, when you see Barabbas going free, this guilty murderer that should be hanging on a cross, Randy, Barabbas is a picture of me.
Mm-hmm.
Barabbas is a picture of you.
Right.
Barabbas is a picture of everybody that's watching and taking part of this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We are Barabbas.
Right.
And here is this substitutionary sacrifice, this perfect, spotless Lamb of God that God ordains to kill so that you and I can go free.
Mm-hmm.
And there Jesus is hanging in Barabbas' spot. It's this graphic picture of sin being placed upon Jesus, and I'm Barabbas, and I've been able to get set free from the penalty and the presence of sin because of what the Lamb did for us. Just an incredible picture,
right? And that's what we celebrate,
That's what we celebrate
this weekend. And when you were talking about that, I was thinking about the way we look at something being perfect, in our world, and we'll use the term, "Oh, that's perfect," and when really it's not. It's not perfect,
No.
and we can't even wrap our minds around it. But Jesus was perfect
in every way,
and that's why he is the sinless, perfect Lamb.
And if he wasn't, then his death on the cross was just an ordinary man dying.
Exactly. That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, good word again, Adam. And so want to remind you, Sunday, our Easter services will begin at 9 o'clock, first service, and the second service is at 10:45. And so we kind of spread that out a little bit just to get the traffic flowing a little bit better in and out in between services, and for parking issues and things of that nature. So 9 and 10:45, and we invite everyone to come. Anything you want to say about
no care groups?
No care groups
Sunday morning, as we are trying. We want everybody to be here to worship. I just talked to Michelle, and just as the word's going out, we're trying to get this out as much as we can, since we're not doing care groups, and we want everybody to be able to worship in a service. There's going to be a ton of kids here.
Yeah.
We've got Glory Kids in both services. We got nursery in both services. What a great way to come and worship in one of the services, and in the other service to make you and your family available to serve.
Right.
And so if you wouldn't mind doing that, I know that'd be a big help. You'd be serving our families and our guests who are coming, as we are teaching our kids about the story of Easter as well.
That's right.
So looking forward to it, and we do. We hope that so many of you will be here Sunday morning ready to worship King Jesus.
Yeah, that's right. I'm looking forward to it. And again, thank you all for joining us, and that's what's happening at Glory.